What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode. I'm Dr. Mike Axler, professor of exercise science, PhD in kinesiology and applied human physiology, and 60 plus time marathoner and ultramarathoner. What do you know about your metabolism? Have you heard that you have a fast metabolism? Have you heard that you have a slow metabolism? Do you swear that when you were a kid, it used to be fast and now it's slowed down, which is why now you've gained weight? Have you tried to increase your metabolism? Have you tried various supplements or protocols? And did any of it work? Please answer that for yourself. So today we are going to be debunking myths about metabolism with some science-backed evidence, as we always do on this show and on the podcast. And I actually did my dissertation on metabolism of carbohydrates and fats mainly, so I'm very excited about this one today. And we will be talking about why calorie counters and these, metabolic hacks we see on social media is a bunch of hoopla, and things like ice baths, saunas, lemon water, fat burners don't work, and how we can use our own physiology to not only increase our metabolic rate, but also increase our body composition and decrease our risks of developing cardiometabolic diseases down the road. And spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. We'll be talking about skeletal muscle, the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, shout out Bill Nye, and nutrition timing. So with that, let's jump on in. So the four components of metabolism, we're just going to say the four components of metabolism, or the four components which make up TDEE, or the total daily energy expenditure, are number one, our BMR, or our basal metabolic rate. So around 60 to 70% of the calories that we burn throughout the day come from our BMR, and this is quite literally just the amount of calories it needs to keep us alive. Everything from our heart to beat, our blood to flow, and our organs to function, around 60% of what you need every single day comes from your BMR, and you can't really change this too much. However, we will be talking about muscle mass and how that is very metabolically active, but number one is going to be BMR. The second factor which lays into your total daily energy expenditure is going to be your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Anything from like fidgeting, walking, standing up, sitting down, cleaning, tapping your hand annoyingly on the desk. This is going to burn off way more calories throughout the day than you probably originally thought. So I want you right now to think about a kid in your life. Maybe it was you, maybe it's like your brother. It's always like a guy who's like a big gamer. And if I say that you're a gamer, it's not like you enjoy playing video games on the computer or on like an Xbox like 30 minutes a day or an hour a day. No, you either jump on into the gaming pool or you do not. And I already probably mixed up some of my words because I have not gamed since Guitar Hero in 8th grade. But with this, all the gamers are always like these like really, really, really skinny guys, and all they eat is like Oreos and Pepsi, and they're so skinny. And you wonder, how can you just stay inside like a vampire, super, super, super pale, eating nothing but double stuffed Oreos and Mountain Dew all day long and be so skinny? And the answer is NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. If you were to strap on like a heart rate monitor onto one of those gamers and go with them for one of their all-night gaming sessions, their heart rate's probably around 90 to 100 beats per minute for like 8 hours. That's equivalent to taking an 8-hour walk. If you take an 8-hour walk, assuming you burn off 300 calories an hour, you're basically burning off 2,400 calories over that gaming session. So that's why a lot of the gamers can be so skinny while subsiding on just Oreos and Mountain Dew. So the main thing with this is that your NEAT, or your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is going to play a very, very large role in determining how many calories you burn throughout the day. Number 3 is going to be the TEF, the thermic effect of food. This is the energy needed to both digest, absorb, and metabolize the food we eat. This is going to be an active process, not passive, but active. Protein has the highest thermic effect of food, coming in around 20 to 30%. So what that means in layman's terms is that for every 10 calories we ingest of protein, you will only absorb, net, or hold on to around 7 to 8 of those, because the rest gets burnt away as you digest, absorb, and metabolize it. Carbohydrates have the second highest thermic effect of food. They're around 5 to 10%, and dietary fats around 0 to 3%. So this is a contributing reason as to why high protein diets are very metabolically active. And those folks who have high protein diets typically do keep the body fat off. And of course, there's other factors which go in here, but that's just one of the reasons. And number 4, and the fourth factor, which lays into your total daily energy expenditure, is going to be your EAT. We have a lot of acronyms here. This is going to be your exercise, activity, thermogenesis, or basically your planned physical activity. And your planned physical activity, if you're one of those people who tries to get in 8 to 10,000 steps per day, but let's be honest, you probably don't. Your planned physical activity might be 200 or 300 calories a day. If you're a very competitive athlete training once, twice, 3 times a day, you could be burning off 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 calories per day. In general, planned physical activity or exercise activity thermogenesis doesn't really make up that much of your total daily energy expenditure, or not as much as you would think, because people think that they can out-exercise a poor diet, or they can just eat like garbage and then go on the elliptical for 20 minutes. And unfortunately, we don't burn off nearly as many calories as you would expect by going on the elliptical or lifting weights. But in general, this is going to be a pretty robust amount of calories that you can burn throughout the day based on how active you are or how active you are not. So to recap this, the 4 components which go into your metabolism or your total daily energy expenditure are going to be number 1, your basal metabolic rate, number 2, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, number 3, your thermic effect of food, and lastly, number 4, your exercise activity thermogenesis or planned physical activity. Awesome. So what do most people get wrong? And let's see if we can debunk some of these common myths. So number 1, when people talk about their metabolisms, people think they go into this thing called starvation mode. And this is a real concept, but it's not exactly scientifically sound. So it's more of this thing called adaptive thermogenesis. And what happens really are 2 different things. Number 1 is that people who typically diet and they restrict their caloric intake, so they're restricting their anabolism, what ends up happening is that because they're restricting their calories, they naturally move around less, so they're actually not burning off a lot of calories throughout the day. Next time you're at a family meal or a party and you're stuffing your face with cookies and burgers and all the good stuff, your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is going to be through the roof because you're piling in and piling in and piling in the calories. So your anabolism's going up, and then you will be catabolic because you'll be breaking it down, increasing your metabolic rate. But the exact opposite is happening when you're going into starvation mode, which again doesn't exist. Because if you're not giving yourself a ton of calories, you're also just not going to be moving around a lot. So when people hit these weight loss plateaus, they think, oh, my metabolism's broke, I'm in starvation mode. No, you just need to force yourself to move more and or just eat less. The second thing with starvation mode is, again, on that idea of people dieting down, is that they think when they are trying to diet and restrict their calories, a lot of people typically snack throughout the day, and that's number 1, or they also just snack on things which have quite a bit more calories than they think, like they'll put a little bit of creamer in their coffee, or they'll have a little bit of chips here and there, or they just need to take a little nibble of this. And in general, if you were to really track the amount of calories that are in like the butter you're putting on your bread or the creamer you're putting in your coffee, or just like the amount of chip that you're snacking on between meals, you could be taking in easily an extra 2, 3, 4, 500 calories a day that you didn't account for with respect to like your dieting plan. So your metabolism isn't broken. You're not in starvation mode. You're just not being as honest with yourself as you could be. So starvation mode does not exist. You just need to be more honest with what you're taking in and then what you're burning off. Second, the fast versus slow metabolism hypothesis. And again, this goes back to that gamer kid analogy, the gamer kid analogy, or even just think about when you were a kid. Raise your hand, and I want to see them. Obviously, I can't see through the screen right now. How many of you, when you were kids, were very skinny? You could eat whatever you wanted. You could have all of like, the Dunkaroos and the Kool-Aid Jammers and the Scribblers and all the Krabby Patties that you wanted. And like you were super skinny growing up. And then now you feel like you have like a Weight Watchers shake or something like that, and you keep putting on weight. Does that resonate with any of you? What ends up happening is that if you spend any time with a child or like a young kid, is that they never sit down. And like that's the idea of like not wanting to take kids like to a play or on an airplane or out to dinner, is because they can't sit still. Kids are always zipping around. They're highly anaerobic. They're just going. So they're constantly burning calories. But how many of you just sit around at a computer all day to do your jobs? And while I'm not coming at you, it's just one of those things where like you had a fast metabolism because you never stopped moving, but now you don't move a lot. And lastly, on this, if you want to figure out what like a fast versus a slow metabolism is, a fast metabolism just means a high metabolism, and a slow metabolism means a low metabolism. If we're gonna I'll put this on the screen, but metabolism is equal to anabolism, or what you're taking in as calories, so what's going up. Anabolic means to build, and catabolism, which means to break down. So if you're taking in a ton of calories and you're burning off a ton of calories, your metabolism is going to be higher. So think of like an athlete who might eat 4,000 calories a day, but they're burning off 4,000 calories a day. It's a net of 0, but it's a very high metabolism. Versus think about a sloth who barely eats, but is also barely moving, so they have a slower or low metabolism. So if you would like to speed up your metabolism, just eat more and move more, and boom, you have a high metabolism. Lastly, on the common myths that we have ice water, fat burners, caffeine, saunas, cold plunges. A lot of people think that these things are going to jack up their metabolism, make them torch body fat, but that does not work. Again, as we said in the last point, your metabolism is the sum of what you are taking in from calories and what you're burning off throughout the day as you're sweating, right? You burn it off as heat. If you think about it this way, if you're going to be running a marathon, which is considered the hardest physical feat, obviously we have triathlons, Ironman, and like ultra marathons, but let's just say for this example, you're going to run a marathon. The average person burns off around 3,000 calories during their 26.2 mile journey. It's a lot. I've done it a whole bunch of times. It's not easy. It kind of sucks, but it's rewarding, right? We tell ourselves it is. You burn off 3,000 calories over that like 3 to 4 hour journey because your heart rate's constantly at around 130 to 150 beats per minute. If you're drinking caffeine and your heart rate only goes up to like 80 beats per minute, maybe 90 beats per minute if you're having espresso for like an hour or two, you're really not burning off too many calories. And that's the same thing too when people think that like when they're studying or they're working hard, they're burning tons and tons and tons of calories. Again, it doesn't work like that. Unless like your heart rate's elevated at like 90, 100, like that gamer for like 8, 9 hours, then you can burn off some serious calories. But in general, even if you're doing like an ice plunge or going into the sauna and your heart rate goes up for 2 minutes, that's not going to have any meaningful differences throughout the day. So 3 common myths debunked. Starvation mode doesn't exist. You can have a fast or a slow metabolism depending on how much you want to move and you want to eat. And lastly, caffeine, fat burners, ice water, lemon water does not burn any meaningful amount of calories. If you would like to lose body fat, just exercise and eat healthy. Awesome. Now on to the fun part of how do we actually boost our metabolism? So number one is going to be increase your NEAT, increase your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Number one, try and walk more throughout the day. Take constant walk breaks every 30 minutes, an hour, every 2 hours. And if you do that, if you take a 10-minute walk break every hour and you do that for 8 hours, you're walking for 80 minutes. You could probably get in like 4 miles. That's pretty substantial. If you also put that next to something like weight training or running, you keep burning throughout the day. Second, you can also get a standing desk or a treadmill desk. I have one back there. And what I usually do on some of my days when I'm like not recording is I'll work 6 to 8 hours and I'll walk at 2.5 miles an hour. And you can do the math on how many miles I walk when I walk for 2.5 miles for 6 hours or 8 hours. It really adds up. So thank you, NEAT. Second, on how you can boost your metabolism is to both build and maintain skeletal muscle mass. We had detailed that skeletal muscle is very metabolically active, meaning it burns considerably more calories at rest than does body fat or adipose tissue. So the best thing that you can do, not only eat a high protein diet because protein has a very high thermic effect of food, but you could also resistance train, full body compound movements 2 to 4 times a week, and that can help jack up your metabolic rate a little bit more. Number 3 is to enhance your mitochondrial function. So aerobic training, aka like the zone 1, zone 2, increases your mitochondria or your mitochondrial biogenesis. The reason why we want this is because the more mitochondria we have, the more metabolic engines we have, the more powerhouses of the cell we have. We can just keep using synonymous terms here. The easier it is to both exercise and recover from exercise. So the more activity we can do again and again and again without getting super tired. And I do want to add in on the nutritional component in order to enhance, so to speak, your mitochondrial biogenesis, eating things like healthy fats like the omega-3s, having more polyphenols from fruits and veggies, not wine, but fruits and veggies, having creatine, which is going to be very, very anabolic. It's going to help with the first 10 seconds of a sprint, and then adequate protein intake can all increase your aerobic capacity, aka your VO2 max, as well as increasing mitochondrial biogenesis. And this all filters in really, really nicely to help boost your metabolism. And lastly, on how to boost your metabolism is focusing on your nutrition timing as well as quality. If you can have something like 1.4 to 2.4 grams per kilogram per day of body weight of protein and or just around 1 gram per pound per day of protein, that's going to be wonderful, as well as just spreading out that protein and the carbs throughout the day to help you ramp up for a nice exercise session, recover from the session, ramp up for the session, and then go down for the session to help you recover. And again with this, a lot of people, their metabolism isn't broken per se. They're just snacking throughout the day and they're not moving around a lot. So if you do have a high protein diet with good healthy carbohydrates as well, you're more inclined to stay active, to put on muscle, and to keep burning calories throughout the day. Awesome, we made it. TLDR. Number 1, if you want to increase your metabolic rate, just move more. Increase your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Get a standing desk, get like a treadmill desk, just move around, get up, sit down, do a couple of jumping jacks, and fidget. Those calories really add up throughout the day. Number 2, lift more consistently, 2 to 4 times a week. Functional movements, compound movements, build up your muscular strength because we know skeletal muscle burns more calories at rest than does body fat. Number 3, train your mitochondria. Thank you, Bill Nye. We need that mitochondrial biogenesis in order to help us get out for exercise, to maintain the exercise, and recover from exercise. And lastly, number 4 is eat smart. Focus on both quality of the food you eat and the timing of the food you eat. We know a high protein diet has a very high TEF, or thermic effect of food. And we know that protein is also going to help us add skeletal muscle mass. So focus on good, solid, healthy nutrition from whole foods, as opposed to going with like fat burners, which do not work and are dangerous and are a waste of your time. Awesome. So with that, I do want to thank you for tuning into another episode. If you did enjoy, which I'm hoping you did, please make sure to scroll on down and subscribe to this YouTube channel, subscribe to my podcast, as well as my Instagram and Substack, where I throw down all of the up-to-date scientific information with respect to exercise science, nutrition, longevity research, and all the rest of it. I do not want you to miss a beat. And please share this with a family member or a friend who needs to hear this. And it is about that time of day where I'm going to go to the gym, and I hope you will as well. So before we go, remember, consistency wins, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. Thanks for watching.